If you watch this show frequently, you know we love theater. We hope you do too. There's a wonderful show opening at Florida Studio Theater. There are some previews on March 2nd and 3rd, but it officially opens on March the 4th. The title of the show is The Sum of Us. It's an extraordinary play that we have not seen in this community. Let me introduce my guests who are all involved in The Sum of Us. One of my favorite directors, John Ulmer. Now, John may be familiar to many of you if you are theater buffs, because for many years he directed at our ASOLO theater. He has been directing all over the country recently, and we're so delighted to have you back.
Oh, thank you.
Directing The Sum of Us. You know that it's got a stamp of probably, I won't say greatness, John.
Why not?
Yeah, I could say greatness
Sure.
if John Ulmer is involved.
Greatness.
Okay, I said it. Then we have Charles Tuthill. Now, I've not met Charles before, but if we get a real close shot of him, we decided before we went in to the studio today that he looks like, for those of us who remember Cummings, Bob Cummings, Robert Cummings, he looks like a young, could be Robert Cummings' son, or a young edition of Robert Cummings. Can we get a good tight shot of Charles and see what I mean? Doesn't he?
You decide.
Doesn't he look like that? Okay, that's Charles Tuthill. Then we have Blake Walton. Blake is a handsome guy. I don't know that he looks like anybody, you know, that we know. Anybody, they tell you who you look like when they say you look like so-and-so, so-and-so?
James Spader, Robert Redford, of course.
Robert Redford, a little bit, a young Robert Redford. That's not bad. John.
Yes.
The play, I know, was an enormous hit off-Broadway.
Mm-hmm. Yes, at the Cherry Lane.
Right. Tell about the story.
Well, Annette, as we said before, it's a small play about a wonderful father and son, wonderful in the sense that they have a great relationship. And the play also deals directly with the audience. They're brought into the whole story.
And we didn't mention Eric Travaris, who is another major reason that this has got to be a sensational play. Wonderful, gifted actor of multi-talents. He plays the father.
He plays the father. And he made me say on air that it's to makeup.
With a lot of makeup.
With a lot of makeup,
Too
yes.
young to play that.
To age him, to play that part, yes.
Against type, is that the phrase that they use?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's the dad. There is a relationship between this character and the audience.
Yeah, well, and also...
All the others. Okay.
Well, no, just Jeff.
Okay.
There are only two of them speak directly to the audience, the immediate family.
All right, so we have a father and his son.
The audience is brought in, and they move along in this story, this wonderful story of a developing relationship between Jeff and he's homosexual.
The son is homosexual.
Son is homosexual. And his problems in terms of just reaching somebody and reaching out, and also the father being, well, I don't think this is wrong to say, like a Jewish mama. He's very
Protective
concerned,
and
protective. Yes, he wants his son to meet the right person and to have a happy, long life.
I think that this response on the part of a parent is wonderful, because homosexual people, gays, are somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's uncle, somebody's...
Yes.
In fact, we'll be doing programs later on this season about families of gays. We're going to bring and have you meet some wonderful families. But this relationship is warm and tender and loving. Charles.
And funny.
Okay. Charles, you had said something before we went on there, we were chatting about something that your father says in the play to the audience, because we know that he knows that you're gay.
My father's biggest concern in the play is that I find someone that I can be in love with, Mr. Right. And I leave the stage early on in the play, and the father addresses the audience, and he says, I'm sure you're wondering about what I mean about Mr. Right. My son, prefers the company of men, and I hope that you will, go along with me on this journey as we tell this story of him finding true love in his life. And the father's biggest concern is that he find someone who he can commit himself to on a long-term basis.
Blake, the character that you play.
He represents the love, the person that Jeff is looking for.
The character that Charles plays, you were...
And I think the bigger thing is he represents a child who is not accepted in his family, and is brought into this situation and suddenly has to deal with a father who is very accepting, and it's a very odd situation because suddenly he's able to talk to a middle-aged man who, you know, who will listen, and they both will listen, and he actually has fun with him, and he's won over. He thinks much more of Jeff, and he's won over by this father.
So it's a very sensitive and touching story. So far, I think we've got two sides of perhaps what happens in real life, where there is an accepting family and a rejecting family. Not
in the play, there's someone else, too.
Yes, I want to talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
Then we'll bring in that other character. But I want to make this clear. I'm sure, I have not seen the play, it hasn't opened yet, but if John Ulmer and Eric Tavares, as I said before, are involved in it, we're dealing with something, beautiful theater. Whatever your attitude is about homosexuality or families and in this situation, that's not terribly important.
No.
Any more than going to see any show, what your attitude, if you went to see Fences, your attitude about blacks, or if you went to see any show, Remembrance, a show about Ireland. And you don't have to have an attitude about it. You just have to be ready for some darn good theater. If you would, put the number on the screen. Thank you very much. And that's the number to call. I'm going to remind you that there are previews that probably are sold out. Previews start today and tomorrow. Thursday, March the 4th, is the, in fact, opening date, and it will run until April the 10th. There are matinees. Audiences, we have about a minute before we have to take a break. What about audiences? How are they going to react to this, do you think?
I think they're going to have a very good time.
They're going to enjoy the theater?
Oh, I think so. Regardless of how they feel about the father's acceptance of his son.
Language. Is there language in it that people will be discomforted by?
You mean dirty words?
Yeah, dirty words, John.
No
See,
dirty
that's
words.
what I love about John. Right got to it. No dirty words?
No dirty words.
A lot of humor. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to find out more about these two young actors and more about this other character in the play. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Officially on the 4th. We're talking about Florida Studio Theater, the show which opens, it's in preview now, but it opens on the 4th. It's entitled The Sum of Us. It's got to be great because it has some great people involved in it. Eric Tavares is not here with us. He plays one of the lead characters in lots of makeup because he plays the part of the father and he's not that old. We had to get that in. John Ulmer. John Ulmer is a superb director and he's here with us and he directs The Sum of Us, and I'd like you to meet John Ulmer. And the camera's going to go to John in just a minute. I promise you. See, that's John Ulmer, and we're going to get to our other characters here, our other guests who play characters in the show. Charles Tuthill plays the son in The Sum of Us, and a rewarding role, Charles. I have a feeling. A lot of meat in that.
There are 3 4-page monologues in the play.
Oh, God help you.
With this Australian dialect has been quite a challenge for me. It's taken me about a week to learn each one. Because when you're out there by yourself, you don't have another actor to rely on to get you out of trouble. So it's been a lot of work, and it is going to be very rewarding.
All right, all right. Then we have Blake Walton. And Blake Walton, your character's name, Blake?
Greg.
All right. And do you need an Australian accent as well?
Yes, we all do.
Oh,
This
it's
takes place
all
near
Australian
Melbourne.
accents.
Melbourne.
Melbourne. It takes place in Melbourne. All right, that's challenging.
Yes.
Well, to say the least. But it's wonderful as actors. I know you probably relish the challenge.
Yes.
We were talking, John, about this other character. There are 4 characters: the dad, the son's friend, lover. Tell about the other character.
Well, the other character is a woman that the father is very much interested in. He was introduced to her through an agency, and he's been alone for a long time. His wife's been dead for many years. And he's very interested in this lady, and she in him. And we see them together coming in, and they're really a fun couple. He carries her through the door and nearly breaks his back. And she says, I hope you haven't injured something you'll need later. And I mean, they're so right together.
Sounds good to me. Then what?
Right. And he then gets down on his knees with some difficulty and proposes. And she says, no, I got to wait. I'll wait 6 months. And he hits her very hard. He says, no, 3 months. She says, well, all right. And they have a lovely embrace, and it's a very sexual thing and fine. He says, I've got to get some, I had some champagne now in the refrigerator. She says, oh, you had this planned all the time.
That's
That's right. He runs out, gets the champagne. Well, she's alone in the room, and she finds some of the homosexual books that were bought by the father, not by the son, not by Jeff. Well, she's just thrown completely. And he comes in and he says, all right, what do we drink to? She says, well, I think we better have a little talk before we drink. And this comes out that his son is gay.
She has a line we were talking about, the line that she says, Charles.
She says, I know it's not fashionable, but there's what I know and what I feel, and I can't help the way that I feel. And she has to break off the relationship because she cannot accept dating a man whose son is homosexual.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a very common feeling.
All right. I want to point out to our viewers that we just had a little taste of the sensitivity of this play, The Sum of Us. If you would, put the number on the screen. That's the number to call. They're not there probably till 9 o'clock. It's early, too early to call, but mark the number down. It's a small theater, Florida Studio Theater. If you don't get tickets early, you probably will be shut out because it's going to be a wonderful success. Blake, talk for a minute about your background, because I know you've had a wonderful background in theater.
Oh, I lived for many years in New York, and I worked off-Broadway mostly. And I've been a playwright, produced playwright, which is fun. I lived in California.
Well, nice to fluff that up, just playwright and
that
actor.
too. And I just moved here to Sarasota.
I love that. Great.
For family reasons. I have a son who's here.
Okay, wonderful.
And I started, I mean,
well, there's a lot of work
happened.
here for you.
This happened, and yeah, it's delightful to find that I can do that.
Charles, we don't have too much time. A little bit about your background.
I moved to New York when I was 17. I studied at Circle in the Square in New York. I have worked in regional theaters across the country, in fact, around the world. I've worked in California. I've worked in Japan. I spent 4 months...
Can't stay put. Is that very...
I'm a gypsy in
well,
my
that's
heart.
part of being an actor. It's a mobile profession.
It is.
What I'd like to do, we have less than about a couple of minutes. The hardest thing about the Australian accent, because it is, I've been to Australia, it's very difficult. It is not somehow, you tell me the most difficult thing about the Australian accent.
Keeping it up in your nose.
You know,
You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I think generally we make sounds in our mouths and not up here, so to keep it up there and keep it going as you're talking like this, it's a bit tricky because you start talking like this as you do normally in every day.
But the inflection is different.
Yes, we're not that far along yet.
We're pre-taping.
Yes.
So that the fact is that we say it's opening tomorrow. I said, my God, they're not that far along. We're pre-taping this because they'll be intensely rehearsing as next week goes by.
But there definitely is a musicality to
the
dialect.
Blake, would you agree?
I would. And that's part of the problem because it's very close to Cockney, so it's very easy to get into.
Slip into a Cockney.
Yeah.
Do you want to just do a sound for me?
We'll say good day. It's interesting how you can easily get into it. It's true if you just hit the nasal part, but there's some sounds that are just very, very different. Went is wint.
Is the script, John, help me answer. Is the script in dialect?
No.
Oh, so you guys have just got to
We went to movies. We went to, and we got a wonderful tape that helped us a bit.
I guess, guys, there's a certain rhythm in the way the thing is written.
Yeah, there is
but there's no
there's somatic
dialect in the
you
words.
guys better get a little rhythm to this, getting to the phone and calling up for tickets. If you can see that number again.